President Sarah Duke. How are you?
Hi, I am good. Good to be back in the studio.
Yeah.
I know you love the cooler weather, but I'm just embracing the
You're really
warmth.
looking forward to the 80s,
I
aren't you?
It gets a little warm in the 80s. I'm a 70s girl
Okay. All
as
right.
far as weather
I can do
goes. So,
low 70s.
yeah.
Let's do
Okay.
that.
Okay. Deal.
Well, yeah, it's going to be 80s Friday and Saturday though, so not looking forward to that, but it might be good for you.
Yes.
We are sitting here breaking in. We have a wonderful guest in the K4CO station right now. We have Andrew Aust, who is insurance agent with Comparion Insurance. How's it going, Andrew?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Doing great. I mean, yeah, it's a wonderful day. I like it. It's Wednesday.
It is. It is
Yeah.
gorgeous.
2 more days to go.
Yes.
Weekend.
I know it. Well, one thing before we jump in, for those of you that are listening on the app, thank you. We are also live on social media, which is pretty amazing. If you want to see our beautiful faces, please jump on Facebook, K4CO Radio. We're also on Instagram, K4CO_radio. You can go to YouTube or LinkedIn. We're all over the
All
place.
over the place.
Yeah, so you get to hear and see, but do what is the most comfortable for you. Sit back and relax.
And feel free if you want, if you come up with a question, think of a question, just type them in the comments and my producer will let us know.
I agree. We're about to launch into a
lot.
wonderful journey with Andrew. I love his backstory of how he got into this, but insurance is definitely something. So type in your questions because a lot of people have questions.
Definitely do.
So yeah.
And he looks like Josh Groban too. So.
He does. He's one of my most favorite singers, so I absolutely love it. Yeah. Well, Andrew, thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure.
It's been wonderful to get to know you on many different fronts, and especially in the community. You're kind of a staple of the networking relationship world of Colorado, so it's been
I like
lovely.
to meet people. I like to network.
It's been great. Well, so start us a little bit before Comparion.
Sure.
Of kind of, I know you've had many pretty amazing careers, which is fantastic. So when did you? Well, you're native here,
I am.
which
yeah.
is pretty amazing. So we have 3 natives in the room together.
it.
Yes,
That doesn't happen.
it's very
Where's the
rare.
4-leaf clover?
I know. Oh, yeah. No, it's not Sabino. Sorry. He's close though. So yeah, tell us about where you're originally from here in Colorado and your journey.
Sure. So I grew up in Fort Collins. My parents came from the Midwest. My mom from Illinois and my dad from Iowa. And they landed at CSU and never left. So I was born and raised in Fort Collins. And I lived up there until about 2000. I came down here for school. And then I went back up there for a stint and then, came back to Denver in about 2008.
Nice. Okay. I love that you were in Fort Collins.
Yeah.
I went to Colorado State. I won't say the year, but yeah, I was up there and then moved back-ish, like Windsor area. And it has changed. It's growing, of course, all of Colorado is exponentially. But Fort Collins is it's a cute spot to be.
Fort Fun was awesome. Like I was up there 99, 2000, 98 through 2000, something like that. And it was just awesome. I know it's really built up a lot by now, but I absolutely loved it back then.
Yeah, it was a fun place to grow up for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what did you study when you went to school?
So I started out. I did some drafting classes and started out in engineering. That's what my dad did professionally, and I just kind of found that wasn't for me. And so I kind of migrated into business, and that made a lot more sense to me. So that's where I finished.
Okay. With a business degree, was there a specialty?
Nope, just general business.
Awesome.
Metro. So,
Very cool.
yeah.
It covers all of it. Nice. So you graduated from Metro, charging away with business. And boy, do you have a lot of business in your background. I mean, it's amazing. I find all of your career path is just so fascinating to me. So when you graduated, where did you first land?
So I actually I worked kind of in between. So I didn't my college path was not linear at all. I hopped around. So after I studied at CSU, my wife and I, along with her sister, took over a restaurant from her parents, and we did that for not quite a decade, but almost a decade. So that was a journey.
What kind of food?
It's Thai food. My
Thai
wife's from
food.
Thailand.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
They have amazing food there. Shout out to Southeast Asia right there.
Yeah.
And it is hard. Yeah, we were talking about that off air of managing a restaurant and everything that goes into that, and trying to pay people what they're worth is definitely hard. It's very grueling at times, and you wear so many hats
So many
when you
hats.
own and run a restaurant, from being the owner down to you're scrubbing certain things at the end of the day that you
Yes.
don't want to be scrubbing. So.
That's right. You do everything. I
Do
can wash
everything.
dishes with the best of them. So.
Nice.
yeah.
I do too. Sometimes it's like, hey, I want to just go hang out with you and ditch the date type of thing. But, that's another story.
And it's funny too. You can always tell people that were never in the restaurant industry. Like, when I was working at Jackson's bar and grill and everything, it's like you can kind of tell people that have never worked in the restaurant industry.
Sure.
And it's like, yeah, I get it.
For sure. It teaches a lot about a person.
Mhm.
I highly recommend that people get into the service industry at some point. To serve another person, it really creates a whole bunch of different good character
Especially when
traits.
you're younger. It's great when you're younger, serving tables or bartending or something like that. It teaches you a lot.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
So
So you did the amazing Thai restaurant for about a decade,
Yep.
which is very impressive to do it for that length.
Yeah.
And then what came after that?
So after that, I was kind of searching. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and a good friend of mine had a little boutique mattress and furniture store that was really, well, kind of internet based before the internet. It was really mail order. She did most of it out of her home, and she was looking to expand. And my wife and I just kind of decided that we were done doing the restaurant, and we didn't know what we were going to do. And she posed the opportunity to expand her business down to Denver. And so I took that on, and I opened a location down here, and I did that for about 16 years. I did that up until kind of the early part of 24. So just last year.
Wow, that
Yeah.
was another long stint.
It was a long
You
stint.
kind of stick for the long haul. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow. What drew you to that job? What was the most fascinating part about the mattress world?
Nothing, honestly. It was kind of.
I was hoping you'd be like, I went and jumped on all the beds after hours. I would sleep in different beds every night.
Yeah,
And
that's what I'd do.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
Try them out.
when it was pitched to me, I said, "What?"
I'm gonna go sell you a bed.
Yeah, and no, it was really. I think what drew me to that was the same thing that's kind of drawn me to everything I've done, and that is kind of small business and working with people. And that's big for me. Kind of going back to what you said about the service industry. I think learning how to serve people and work with people is so important. My daughter started a job in a family restaurant when she was 14, just helping out a little bit. And she did that for a few years. And I'd like to say that experience has just, made her more of a well-rounded person, just understanding people, understanding what it means to serve people. And so I think it's not so much what the job was, but it was kind of who it was with, and that's always drawn me to things. And that's kind of what drew me to where I am now, just being able to work with people, to help people.
There usually is always a common thread. When I sit and talk to people about their journey, and there's usually many different career paths because of moving or changes in life. It's just is what we're drawn to. But as you said, mine has always been about being involved in the community, and
Right.
that's kind of the common thread of nurturing. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you left the jumping on the bed
I did. Yep.
job, and now you're in insurance.
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was, somewhat unexpected. I had dabbled with the idea of doing this or doing something with finance. I'd like to say I'm good with numbers. And I really wanted something that, again, just allowed me to consult with people, to help people. and I had a good friend who is still in insurance, and he's been bugging me about getting into this for about a decade. He said, "Have you ever thought about doing this?" And I hadn't really given it a whole lot of thought, but I kind of made the jump. I needed a change, and I kind of made the jump, and it's been amazing.
Nice. I am
Yeah.
curious what led you to Comparion over other agencies.
Yeah. I searched around, and I think that um, what led me there, I mean, it was maybe a little bit serendipitous. I was kind of just searching around, but my first interaction with them was, it's just a really good feeling. I really liked the people that I connected with there, and kind of through the interview process. And I was maybe a little bit pensive about it. I didn't know if I liked the idea of working for a giant corporation. Comparion's owned by Liberty Mutual, which is a very large carrier. But I've been nothing but pleasantly surprised with everyone there. Liberty really did just an amazing job bringing a model that really brought this local consultation kind of back to the table, and really compare it. That's what Comparion is. It's really about being involved in the community, consulting with people. We are not order takers. We are really advisors, and that is kind of what sold it for me.
That's amazing. Well, that goes along with what you were talking about. It's the relationship building. I know a lot of times I feel like on the other end, no matter who I'm calling, I can tell if they're just going through the checklist with me
Sure.
instead of actually understanding my situation.
Right.
And it is actually developing that relationship, having those conversations. So that's wonderful that you went through that process.
And I like that too, especially like in a age where, a lot of people are kind of used to just go to the site, check mark, this, blah, blah, blah. But they don't really understand what they're getting.
Sure.
They're really just looking, most people, I think, just on the final price that pops up. They're just like, yeah, this. Okay, there's a price. But it doesn't really, it's not like having a conversation with somebody about their situation and what they need on it.
Sure. Yeah, and I feel strongly about that too. And not to say that there's not a place for that. I think there is. But I also think that it's important to understand insurance, and I'm pretty passionate about that. I think it's very important, right? It's protecting things that we all work very hard to have, and having the right coverage for those things is really important.
I agree. Protecting your loved ones and your most important assets are what else is there, right?
Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, and you're located in Denver, here in Colorado. Do you serve Colorado and other states? How far is your reach?
So my reach is just Colorado,
Okay.
currently. That may change
Okay.
in the coming years.
Nice.
But we've got advisors nationwide. So Comparion works nationwide, and that's another thing that I really like. If someone has, say, a vacation home in New Jersey, I can reach out to a network of local agents in New Jersey and have someone help them. And I think that there's obviously a benefit to working with someone that you know and you trust. There's also, I think, a benefit to working with someone that knows the area that they're insuring. That's a big benefit too. And I feel pretty strongly about if I reach out and I find a referral partner within Comparion in New Jersey, that I feel like I'm in good hands. I've talked to a lot of the agents around the nation. I did kind of training classes with people all over the country, and the culture that Comparion builds is it's really good. It's a good place to be.
That's good. It's good to love where you work. It makes a big difference. And you all offer a lot of different services, which is wonderful. Do you find that when people call you, it is a collection of a lot? They're saying, hey, I need auto, home. I would be calling for pet insurance. Well,
Sure.
hopefully, in the future. But,
I'm still amazed that there's pet insurance these days.
Yeah.
There's a lot of insurance that I'm amazed that there's insurance for these days, but it
Yeah.
makes sense. Pets are very expensive.
They are expensive, yeah. And yes, pet insurance is great, and it's a great resource to be able to provide.
yeah.
Yeah, we do a little bit of everything. We do everything from your toys, your jewelry, so your jet skis, your RVs, your boats, all that kind of stuff. We do pet insurance. We do jewelry insurance. We do home and auto insurance. We do a little bit of commercial insurance too. So we have a pretty broad spectrum, and we also have a very robust panel of carriers, and that's another part that I would say kind of drew me to Comparion. For me, I like the idea of having a lot of options, because I think that insurance is not a one size fits all at all. Everyone's situation is different. Everyone needs something that's a little bit different, has a different experience in life, and being able to have a wide reach in what we can offer is a great thing.
Are people calling for, is it more of one thing over another?
I would say probably the home and auto is probably the biggest thing that people call for.
Okay.
They are the biggest investments that we make usually. So
For sure.
yeah.
I know we won't get into the politics of anything, but
Sure.
With the changing world,
Mhm.
has anything shifted in the conversations about how people are they wanting to protect differently?
I think there definitely are situations where people look at things differently now than they maybe did 5 years ago. I think that the other thing that kind of, and maybe the silver lining in kind of that changing world, is that it gives people pause. I think we are all so busy, and we've got so much going on that sometimes it's kind of this, just get it done. We just need to get this done. But when you have a rate increase that's more than you expected, there's an opportunity there. There's an opportunity to say, okay, let's look at this. Let's take some time to look at this and make sure that you are in the right place. Let's make sure that your coverages are correct. I always like to say, cheap insurance is great until you need to use it.
Right. That's true.
And I think that I mean that genuinely. I think what I mean by that is that it is really important to protect your assets properly. So.
Absolutely. I mean, that kind of goes for everything in life. You get what you pay for. The thing that I buy really cheap are clothes for my kid, because they need to last about a month. And
Right.
then I don't care because he's outgrown it, and you can toss it. But
Sure.
when you're caring for, your biggest asset, then it becomes, make sure it's the right product, it's the right service for you. And sometimes, you have deductibles and everything else to be considering in this,
Sure.
that get the right policy and the right person that matches you. For me, I personally was with a company for a very long time. And my family was loyal for decades. And I just made a change about a year and a half ago because I wanted an agent here in Colorado that I could call and text. So speaking of, for all of you out there wanting insurance needs, you better call or text Andrew, 970-443-5111. That's such a cool number. I like it. With Comparion Insurance. Again, I'm going to give you the phone number one more time because it's really fun. 970-443-5111 for home, auto, pet, jewelry, all of your fun toys. I love that too. It's starting to warm up, so you have a jet ski out there, and you do bikes and motorcycles. And
We do.
Nice.
Yeah, we do bicycles, not just motorcycles. We do e-bikes. We do all kinds of different things.
Nice. Those things are kind of expensive.
They are.
Mhm.
Those
They
e-bikes.
really are. Yeah.
Man, and they weigh a ton. Could just bench some of this.
They do have some good rebates though that come out every single year. Looking for that. I do have a question though, because it seems like insurance is one of those things, and correct me if I'm wrong, where I think a lot of people just sign up for the insurance. It's something that they have to do. They have to check off their list, and then they just kind of forget about it. They just kind of let it go. And then the only reason why somebody would be looking for a different insurance is something happened that they didn't like. But it seems to me that insurance is one of those things that you should be reviewing every once in a while. How often do you think people should kind of review the insurance that they have and that they're in?
That's a great question. I really think that, if you can do it, I think it's valuable to review your insurance annually.
Annually, yeah.
I think that, especially in Colorado, if we take an example of the housing market in Colorado, housing, which is great for everyone here, housing prices have gone up and up and up for a long time. What that means is you need to take a look at your insurance to make sure that it is properly covering the value of your home. That's really important. I had a conversation with a lender the other day, and he said, we find that people are maybe a little bit underinsured a lot of the time, just because it can get away from you quicker than you think it can.
Right.
And I think that it's something that, is not too difficult to do. Yes, it does take a little bit of time, and we are all busy, but I think it really is important to just look everything over. I mean, another example is maybe you got a bunch of work done on a home, right? And I don't think that before I did this that I would always think about like, oh, I should call my insurance agent and update that. But that's important too. Again, if you're adding value to something, let's make sure that it's covered.
Gotcha.
I think about that with jewelry too. I didn't know until, because I had a 50-cent thing on my finger and I don't think about it. But, if you have anything expensive jewelry wise, things happen to that stuff all the time.
Yeah. I don't know what they say nowadays about what's appropriate for an engagement ring, but I think the last time I heard, I was going, oh my goodness, like that's how much you're supposed to spend on an engagement ring.
You know what? I really miss Cracker Jack boxes. I do. If someone gave me a Cracker Jack ring, I'd be done. I'd be so excited because that is just so adorably cute. So, sorry, I'm not speaking for any other woman but me right now. I'm going to get some serious emails after that one.
Yeah, most of them are about 3 months' salary.
My fiance just gave me some, be like,
It's all
sorry.
your fault.
I'm sorry, girls. Get what you so desire, whatever that is. So
And protect it.
And protect it. If it's a Cracker Jack ring, protect that.
That's right.
So,
And not only houses, you do rental insurance too. And I've always been curious about rental insurance. I've never had rental insurance when I, was living in apartments. So, is rental insurance really just an inventory of of what you have in your apartment or your condo and insuring all the contents?
Mostly it is, but the other component of rental insurance is personal liability. And so most rental policies have a provision, or coverage for liability. So if, someone was to get hurt on the premises, you could, as a renter, even though you're not the property owner, be held liable for some of that. And so having, coverage for liability is an important thing. Outside of that, yes, it's really about your personal property. So, covering the items that you have. And the way I think about personal property as it relates to renter's insurance or homeowner's insurance, you can kind of think about it. Like if you took your apartment or your house and you turned it upside down and shook it out, everything that fell to the ground would be your personal property. So a lot of times that's another coverage that we don't always think about, how much that actually adds up to, right? I had a conversation with another agent a few weeks ago, and he was saying, what if someone is just very thrifty? What if they shop at Goodwill and they get all their stuff there and they say, well, my stuff's not worth anything, right? And, that gave me a little bit of a pause because I thought about it for a minute, and it's like, sure, I get that. You don't spend a whole lot of money on your belongings. That's fine. But what if your house burned down, and you had to replace all of that stuff all at the same time, right? It would take a lot of work to replace a house full of stuff at Goodwill, right? And you're probably not going to do it because you're not going to be able to. You're going to have to go buy some things new, right? And so we have to account for those things that people don't always think about when we're providing coverage or suggesting coverage.
That's a really good point. So, I mean, if you have, I'll put my TVs in this situation. I have a TV that I've had maybe 7 years, 10 years.
Sure.
So do you think about it when you say, hey, I want to cover this TV, which probably no one would buy today. But do I value it as if my house burnt down that I would need to go buy a new TV? With, depreciating values, that's a conversation you probably have with people of, hey, have a cheap couch that no one will take on the side of the road versus, it's an interesting conversation because you can go buy a couch for 20 grand that no one will take off the side of the road. So
Right.
It is an interesting thing to think about of how much value couches are tough. It's hard to move a couch.
Yes,
And
it
those
is.
big TVs,
Sure.
like my parents
The
had
old
one of
tube
those
ones?
huge that no one would come. Pool table is another one.
Oh my goodness.
Those are so expensive, and they just go with the house, because no one will move them.
Yeah, because what is it? It's like 1.5 inches of solid slate.
It
that
is,
covers
and you
that.
need a professional pool mover. Sorry,
Right.
I'm derailing us, but
No, not
do,
at all.
do you have these types of conversations with people of how you really value your items?
Sure. Yeah, and it's usually an aha moment for a lot of people because they go, "Oh, I didn't think about that." Right. So sure, your TV might not be worth very much. Mine's not. But I'd be sad if I didn't have it.
Right.
I'd
I'd be very depressed. I would be very, very depressed.
So yeah,
Yes,
so
you're
we talk about replacement cost, and so that's that is the idea that we will replace your products with like products, right? Not meaning we're going to go find a 7-year-old TV
Right.
and put it in your house, but a new TV that's comparable in size and feature to your TV, and so
Nice.
that's how you're going to look at that type of coverage.
How about the value? So if my house burned down, I would actually, I'm not going to finish that sentence because this is live.
Wow.
The things that I would miss the most are the things that my kiddo has made for me.
Sure.
The
Like,
sentimental things.
it is very much so. Everything else to me has not a whole lot of value.
Sure.
How do you put a price tag on something like that?
It's really hard to put a price tag on stuff like that. But there are coverages for things like that for art. There's something called agreed value or stated amount, which is things that are hard to value. Things like art pieces, things that are unique, maybe heirlooms, and so that that requires an involved conversation with your insurance agent to say, hey, like that, this is worth this much to me. I want to make sure it's covered, right? And sometimes I've got a couple of pieces of my kids' art that I don't know what the value would be. I'd be devastated if I
Right.
lost it.
Yeah.
With that said, it's some way that we can recoup something from that. Maybe if something happened, you say, well, I'm going to pay for an art class to have my daughter make me something else or my son make me something else. I don't know, but
Yeah, it's interesting. I always think about that.
sure.
I would put $1 million on those little handprints.
Yeah.
It was tiny.
Right.
So I don't
Right.
think an insurance agent would say,
Can
sure.
you cover the handprints for $1 million?
I don't know if we can do that.
I don't know if we can do that. Yeah,
Here's
I'm
what
not
I
in
would
this-
say. Put them in a fireproof safe.
There you go.
That, okay. Oh, I like it. Okay. I'm going to go I know. I need a safe.
Yeah, you do. I have a question for a lot of the people out there that don't know, and I put myself in that category here. Umbrella policies. I hear that term thrown around every once in a while. In fact, I even believe I might have one for business wise. I don't know what is an umbrella policy.
Sure, sure. So an umbrella policy is something that extends your limits of liability. So if you, let's see, what's a good example of this? Say at some point we are all underinsured, right? And what I mean by that is, say you're driving down I-25 and you are at the tail end of a 10-car pileup, and the 9 cars in front of you are all brand new Mercedes. That's an expensive, bill to pay, right?
Yep.
And so where an umbrella would come in would be to extend, there's a couple different types of coverages, and I'll use auto for an example. The liability component of auto coverage, you've got 3 numbers, okay? The first number is your bodily injury per person. Your second number is your bodily injury cumulatively for the accident. And your third number is property damage, okay?
And no, the second one right there, that's not people. So the first one is all people. The second one is what?
Second one is also people too.
Oh,
So
okay.
the first one would pay out, say your limits of liability, for this example, since we're talking about umbrella, are $250,000 per person, cumulatively $500,000 per accident, and then say your property damage is $100,000. Your umbrella coverage is going to extend those underlying limits to a higher amount. So you can get an umbrella policy that will extend those limits up to $1 million, to $2 million. And, that's an example, relating to auto. But the other idea of umbrella coverage is it's an umbrella, right? It covers everything that's under it. So you would get an umbrella policy to kind of help all of the liability that's associated with you as a person, right? So say you have 3 cars, you have a primary residence, and you have 2 rental properties, right? That's a lot of exposure. That's a lot. That's a pretty big asset portfolio, and we're not even talking about, say, you have 401ks or things like that. You want your insurance to pay the bills that you're liable for. You don't want your assets to pay for the bills that you're liable for.
Right. That makes sense. Yep.
And so, that's where we would look at umbrella coverage. We would look at someone that had, anyone could buy it, and it's not wrong for anyone. But the cases where we're maybe going to be a little bit more insistent is where people have, a larger asset portfolio that needs protecting. And so that's, yeah.
No, man, that was very eloquently explained. I always go, it's the what ifs and oops.
Well, it is.
I think that's the technical term.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't have that. It's all the, I didn't think about that. And oh yeah, I do have that. So it is. It's kind of for me, it's always the catch-all of, and to really, yeah, I think if you have even multiple assets, even if you have 1 car and 1 house, it just adds that extra layer of what is the weather going to do? Or am I going to get dented with hail? We don't know. Are we going to have a blizzard? Is something going to break? Or my pipe's going to freeze this year? And so it's a lot of the things. So I have a property with a water feature outside, and man, that opened my eyes to, wow, that's a whole nother liability that's sitting right out there. So, it's all these things that is like the what ifs, but.
Right. What if your water feature leaked and, threw a sheet of ice over your sidewalk and someone slipped and fell?
Yep.
You're liable for that accident on your property.
Yeah.
So.
It would be my kid. It'd be fine. I've warned him. Does that go into consideration too? Like how many conversations I've had with him leading up to the accident?
I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Okay, good. I keep telling him, I'm like, Mommy's not doing any more hospital runs. So
I'm just going to line my house with caution signs.
Oh, there you go.
That way they can't sue me, right? You can't come after me.
I'll get back
right.
to you on that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
please do.
exactly. Just because the cup says it's hot, you can still sue if you burn yourself.
Yeah, true. That has been proven.
It has been proven. I mean, they have a caution on skis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, and I think I've told you this. If you do not use them inappropriately, because some guy skied off of his roof and really hurt himself, and after that, they had to put a caution thing on it. Same thing with a bag of peanuts. This product may contain nuts
Exactly.
because someone had something happen and they ate a bag of peanuts. So.
Don't assist in childbirth with this ski.
Ooh.
They just have warnings all over.
They
everything.
do, but you
That's-
can still. We're in a very Sue happy world. So, with that being said, it's very good to protect everything
is.
that you can.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It is litigious out there,
Sure.
and I think that I don't like to assume the worst, but I also I also recognize that again, not to sound like a broken record, but we work hard for the things we have, and we need to protect them.
Absolutely. And I know we've been talking predominantly and more about individuals and homes, but you said you also cover on the commercial business side as well.
We do, yeah. We have a division that we work with pretty intimately that writes some small commercial coverages, and we're hoping to come out with some more and kind of broaden that panel. Maybe I don't know, Q3 maybe. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sometime in the future.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that is also something that is near and dear to my heart, just because I've been in small business for so long. It's kind of living vicariously through people who are developing businesses and creating something new. I love that.
I do too. Out of the box thinking.
Absolutely.
I live by that. That should be my new life motto. For those of you just joining us, we have Andrew Aust here in studio with Comparion Insurance, and you can call or text him at 970-443-5111, or you can email him at andrew.aust, that's A-U-S-T, at comparioninsurance.com. And man, he can get you set, and he's here in Colorado, which, coming from me personally saying this, it is really valuable to have someone here locally and not when you're outsourced. I'm just saying that it's just nice to have, and someone that will answer the phone and be like, hey, you're here in Denver. Look out your window. My
And can
house is going
insure
through
almost
this.
anything too.
Exactly. Your house, your car, your rental, your pet, your jewelry. I mean, even your 7-year-old TV,
That's great.
You can come just take mine. If it's out on the street, just take it. I don't need, no questions asked. Well, another thing, I know we've mentioned this, that you're very involved in the community. I mean, that's how you and I met, was through a chamber event. But what all do you do in the community?
So, I am part of the Inglewood Chamber. I don't currently serve on a board, but I have done some stints for a park district board, doing some work for, the community and the parks. I like to volunteer. I'm trying to get out more and volunteer to help people. I really am passionate about helping people. That's definitely my drive, to be there where I can, to be a resource to the community. I feel like I'm kind of an old soul in that way. I'd like to be able to say, I've got a guy or I got a gal. I really, really like to be able to refer people. And part of that is you have to get to know people first, right? And so being involved in our local communities is really important to me. And I think it's an untapped resource. We should get to know each other. We should work together, especially now, and in the current state of everything, we should try to work together as much as we can.
And that's the pure definition of helping people, where it's just like, instead of, oh, I can't do that, say, I can't do that, but I know somebody who can.
Absolutely.
That's how you truly help somebody. Yeah. And I like that a lot. So we see it at a lot of events too. It's very nice. Yeah. So do you collaborate with a lot of people? Give us an example of something that you could not do that you know somebody that could do?
In the realm of insurance?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. I mean, that happens all the time. I think that the approach that I take is I try to meet and get to know as many people in the realm of insurance as I can, because yes, I do have a pretty broad panel of of carriers, but there's things that maybe I can do, but maybe I can't do them as well as I know someone else could do, or maybe there's a specialist that I know just does an amazing job at something. Um, I'm gonna. I hope my boss isn't listening. I'm going to be the anti-salesman a little bit here. It is really important to get someone into something that is the best fit for them. And if I'm not the person to do that, then I'm going to find someone that can. You said give you a specific example. I mean, there's sometimes where, just in terms of rate for coverage, I can't beat another carrier like a captive agent, and I'm going to say I've got a guy that you should talk to. I'm happy to help you, but this rate is a lot more than you're paying for the coverage that you're getting, so you should talk to this person. Also, we did talk about commercial insurance, and I do offer commercial insurance, but I can't write everything. The appetite, isn't, so broad with some things. So I've got some partners in the commercial space that, just have a broader spectrum. I worked with someone a while back that had a consulting firm, and it was a very unique business model. And we just didn't have the appetite, we didn't have the underwriting for what they were looking for. And so I connected them with someone that did. And that feels good. It feels good to not say, good luck,
Exactly.
It feels better to say, hey, you should talk to this person. I think they could help you. That goes a long way.
I totally agree. That is why I love referring people as well. And it's for everything that we've been talking about over the past hour is how you approach relationships. And if you can't do it, then you are honest and ethical about it. So when I'm out in the world and someone is saying, hey, I need an insurance person, I'm going to say, who you need to go to is Andrew. Even if he wasn't able to help me, he is going to steer you in the right direction. And that speaks volumes, and not just today's platform, but I'm across the board. That is the fabric of the collaboration of what you're talking about. If you have that network of really honest, hardworking, community-oriented people start noticing that, and your book of business is just going to grow no matter what. But if you're caring about the individual first and foremost, it's the person that you're helping,
right? And
then the money will hopefully follow.
Sure, yeah.
That's kind of how business has worked for me. If money is the driving force, I mean, people will see through that after a while. Let's just say, man, I had a 3-minute conversation and he just sold me, a policy that I feel very overinsured.
Sure. Sure.
I live in, my tent outside, and
I'm insured for $2 million.
$2 million, exactly.
Is it made of gold?
It could be. I want to live in that tent.
Yeah,
that
right.
sounds kind of nice. Yeah.
It's all about what's in the tent.
That's true. A lot of handprints on a 7-year-old TV. Handprints are very valuable, I'm just saying. I love my kiddo. Everything else can burn.
Fair enough. You need to get a safe.
I do.
Fireproof.
But all it would be is handprints inside of the safe. That would be very funny. Yeah.
So you do love your job. I definitely get that. And even talking with you when we run into each other, you're always really curious about people's situation, about where they are, who they are, really, because you're kind of like me, where I like to get to know somebody just as a person before I kind of get into things.
Sure.
This seems like this, you really enjoy what you do. Where do you see yourself in like the years to come?
I'd like to grow this. I'd like to be more involved in the community. I'd also like to be in sandals on the beach every once in a while, but No, but in all seriousness, it's about building this. I think that it is so rewarding, and it really does feed my soul to just be more involved with, with the community. That is, it's important to me, and I don't know if I can really, put a finger on exactly why. It's just, it feels good, and it feeds my soul to know the people around me, to be involved in the community, and so I really just want to build that, and just kind of keep going, keep moving forward.
I love it. Keep building.
Yeah.
Would there be any advice that you would tell people that are looking to get into more coverage, less coverage, questions about insurance?
I think that, the first thing I would say is find someone that you connect with, and find someone that's willing to give you the time that you need, that's willing to make you a priority. I think that, I'm not going to be the right fit for everyone out there. It is a relationship. And so you have to work with the people that you feel comfortable working with. And so I think that, being able to find someone that can be your guy or your gal is important. It really is. So
You also just defined a marriage. It's true. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, man, I hope Sam is sorry, I used her name, but I hope your wife is listening, because it's so true. Where can you be a priority?
Right.
Where can you be heard, valued, and cultivate the relationship?
Yeah.
Be like, I'm your guy. I'm your girl.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to cheese it up a little.
I either need to get married or get an insurance agent. I don't know which one. I'm kind of confused right now.
I think you should, start with an insurance agent.
Okay.
Go from there. If you're confused, I wouldn't launch into marriage, but yeah. Well, this is one of my most favorite questions to ask people, because I love your journey you've gotten to do, and you've had longevity too, but you've had kind of eclectic different careers, but the common thread has been relationships with the restaurant and jumping around on mattresses, because that's
Sure.
what's going on in my head. And now with insurance. So looking back at, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever
Sure.
age you envision, what would you tell your younger self?
How much time do we have left?
About 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You can take all of it.
No, I'm,
I mean, technically, midnight is in. No.
Oh, that's true.
I think that I thought about this. I think remember to be kind to people. Remember to remind myself that you never really know what's going on in someone's life. You never really know the day someone's having. So giving people grace, and really giving yourself the opportunity to get to know someone. I think that it's something I still remind myself of, but it's something, as a child that, I would like to say. I think the other thing is, remember to be grateful for what I have, I think that we all have a lot, and there's a lot of people that don't have as much as we have, and, being grateful for that, and recognizing that, and understanding where, what enough is. I think those things are things I meditate on, I guess I would say now, and I wish that, not in a bad way, but I wish that I, learned these lessons earlier than I did, I guess. Yeah. And to be nice to my parents. They're great people. I was kind of difficult as a child.
Wow. I do not see that
I
from
do
you at
not
all.
see that at all.
Wow.
I need a call from your parents.
I know.
I need to hear these stories.
Yeah. Really? Were you a wild child? Because you're very, really.
Oh yeah.
Is that you're just exhausted?
Do you want
now,
a
so you're
story?
so
Yes,
absolutely.
please.
Yes.
So I was 3 years old, and my mom got a call from the neighbor. She said, Shelly, and I'm going to use my mom's name. She said, Shelly, I don't want to scare you, but Andy's hanging out of the second story window. I had gotten out of my, I was supposed to be taking a nap, and I climbed out the window, and I was hanging from from the window by my hands when I was 3 years old.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Not from my mom.
Oh, well, I mean, that's kind of normal for me. I mean, that's like a typical Thursday night.
Okay.
What happened?
She got me, and I think probably, I don't know, she probably welded the window shut. I'm not sure.
Okay, so she went through the house and got you. She didn't say, "Hey, sweetie, just drop."
No.
Okay. I might be the parent to say, "You got this."
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I did some crazy things growing up. So.
Oh, that's just par for the course.
You kind of have to. I mean, to keep your parents on their toes.
Yeah.
I mean, you're really did your parents a service.
I did.
Yeah.
I get an A+.
Exactly.
in keeping my parents on their toes.
Yeah.
Of course, every kid has to do something like that. Running away from home. I mean, that was like
Sure.
a regular day for me.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, yep, here comes Sarah with our suitcase in tow.
Oh, you didn't have the bandana on the stick. I always went the.
Oh, did you?
Nice.
Yeah. You know the hobo route.
Oh
I
yeah.
do.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, I needed my pretend friends with me. So I had my stuffed animals in my suitcase and food
Nice.
because I was planning to be gone a long time.
Yeah.
I was like, peace out. I don't want to do this anymore. And so, yeah, I'd go up like 5 houses and just plop in their couch and start eating my snacks and hang out with my stuffed animals.
Well, there you go.
So,
You're welcome, moms, all out there.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, the things that we do.
Right.
But no.
Well, you're not hanging out of windows anymore, so that's kind of
not.
good. No.
That's a big liability risk.
Yeah. What would you think? You're kind of looking at liability and insurance and all this stuff, and you like hanging out windows. Have you been skydiving?
I have not been skydiving.
Would you want to?
I don't know. It's not an automatic no for me, but it's not something that's on my list.
Guess what you're doing this summer?
We're going to invite you, yeah.
So I'm going to give a little nod out to Josh's mom real quick. So before we launched into our interview, you said, when you tell people to do something over and over and over again, and they finally do it and they say, thank you for, I'm so glad I did that. Yeah, that is his mom in a nutshell. I worked for 2 years pretty solidly on like a repetitive basis to get her to go skydiving.
Wow.
And she finally went this last summer, and we ran up to her afterwards. She's like, how do you feel? She's like, I have to do this again. It was so much fun.
Wow.
She was ready to go right back up that day.
It's absolutely amazing. And if you can hang out of a 2-story window, you can do this. In this, you will have a parachute with you.
Okay.
So, okay, we go once a year, and you're now on the list.
All right.
No backing out. It's safer than driving
It's on
a
the
car.
radio now. It's
Exactly.
signed.
I know.
There's proof right now.
Yes.
I know.
So, yeah.
Do you insure bungee jumpers?
I'll have to get back to you.
Back to you. Okay, that would be an interesting insurance right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, yeah, it's like, do you insure people who dive with sharks?
Again, I'll have to get back to you. On
You have
that
to get back. Okay, see, this is how my mind
one.
works.
Hard questions. Steph.
Oh, good. Sorry.
Not at all.
How risky are you? How big of a policy?
How risky? Yeah, right.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
is your? Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the questions I would ask.
Sure.
So here's what my year is going to entail. So yes. Anything else that you wanted to make sure that we covered?
I can't think of anything specifically. Yeah, I mean, this has been great. I've really enjoyed getting to know you guys, and yeah, just kind of having this conversation. I think that I definitely will say again that I am really big on education. And I'll just put it out there. If people have questions that they just, they're just curious about, or they need answers, I'm there as a resource. If people want me to take a look at their policies just to review them or just have questions about them, I'm happy to do that. I am really passionate about the education component of insurance. I think that there's not enough known about it. The general public doesn't know enough about it. And I think that part of what happens is that then there's frustration, right? And there's irritation with these products. And I think we can limit that. I'm not going to say that we can get rid of all irritation, because that's just not the reality of the world. But I think that we can reduce that, through education. And so I would encourage people to, to call your insurance agents, to talk to them. If you've got questions, ask them. It's their job, and that's what they're there to do. If you've got questions about your policy, then call your agent, or call me.
Exactly. You were going to take the time.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
I think that is truly why I swapped over. I just thought I am not a priority in your world.
Sure.
And if I am a number, why am I going to pay you money when
Sure.
you're not helping me?
Right.
Education is a big piece of it.
It
like
is.
what is covered? When is it covered?
Mhm.
When should you actually file for a claim? When
Right.
should you not? I had an incident right after I purchased my house
Mhm.
where it was a total fluke accident. Backed out. My car was in the garage. Backed out. The garage door was open, but my car is really tall and it caught on the cord.
Oh no.
And so, yeah, I was living there maybe a month, maybe a two, and the kid was in the car. And so as I was backing out, the door was going down.
No.
It clipped the top, and we were very lucky. It startled the living daylights out of me. But it's a moment like that. It's like, okay, is this an auto claim? Is this a house claim?
Right.
And should I actually file? What is my deductible? So these are all like really good questions. That's
Call your
exactly
agent.
call your agent,
Yeah.
which I have an agent here in Colorado, which is amazing. I was like, hey, I have a problem. What should I do?
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's great that you are here. You're local. I love that people can text and call you.
Yeah.
It makes a world of difference to have that relationship and it's someone here.
I agree. Thank you very much, Andrew. We've really enjoyed having you in, and look forward to speaking with you again. And know we're going to see you at a lot of events as well. So you've been listening to Andrew Aust, who's I said Aust. Why did I do that? I need coffee. Aust. You can call or text 970-443-5111 with Comparion Insurance. So thank you again very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
Welcome anytime.
Well, thank you very much for tuning in. Do know right around 7 o'clock, 7 to 8, we have one solid hour of Colorado-only artists in the K4CO rotation, so definitely check that out. If you did catch the end of the interview and you do want to see it, it does stay on our social media platforms, K4CO all over the place, for about a month. However, on YouTube, it is there forever. So definitely check it out. And everybody have a wonderful evening. Good night.